Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is...
Autumn Garibay.
And this is...
Logan Garibay.
And today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang, and we're going to try to find a path to victory for Andrew Yang through a very unique and special game that has emerged recently, and that game is...
Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's a video game me, Logan, and a lot of other people are really enjoying.
Now, I am ignorant of Animal Crossing's New Horizons, except... there is a gentleman by the name of Adam Cobell. He is a genius that does work in the tabletop role-playing game space, and he is playing this game. For that reason alone, I know it has depth and meaning, which means that it could contain the key to victory for Andrew Yang. And because we are doomed to a good future under Donald Trump, or a good future under Joe Biden, as it stands right now, we need Andrew Yang to unsuspend. So we need to supply him with ideas to excite him to unsuspend. And I think that key may lie in Animal Crossing New Horizons. All right, so let's explore it together. So first of all, I understand it's a world, but the world is unique in one very large way. What way is it unique from our world?
Well, you live in a village where every other villager is a talking animal. So that's one aspect of it. Were you thinking of another?
No, because that's not distinct from our world. If you go down to Washington, D.C., we already saw this. Andrew Yang was a human being, just like the player character, correct? Mm-hmm. And then he was surrounded by crocodiles. All who were just very apt and comfortable in the fetid swamp of backroom deals and I would say shenanigans of Washington, D.C., so it's not. But are all the animals in Animal Crossing's alligators?
No. It's a good analogy that you're around a lot of animals, but it surely is not a swamp. It is truly a beautiful village that you get to tend. Yeah.
So what kind of animals are in it? Is it just mammals? Are there reptiles?
It's mostly mammals and reptiles, not that much fish.
There are also birds,
Yeah.
and so there are lots of different animals in my village. There is Canberra the koala and Goose the chicken. So there are lots of, and every other player playing this would have different animals in their village, and I'm sure I have not seen one, but there may even be alligators, as just like Andrew Yang is dealing with.
Now, you both have villages, is that correct?
We actually live in the same village because we play on the same console. Yeah.
So you're both residents in the same village, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So as citizens of that village, you interact with the other animals, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from that perspective, how would your village be different than her village, and how would your village be different than his village?
Wait, repeat.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just to clarify, we do live in the same village with the same villagers. I think our gameplay experiences have been a bit different. I started just a little bit before Logan, and as such, got a few perks he didn't, and it's been I think a little frustrating for him to catch up. However, it's even allowed us to play together, and we give the characters like funny voices. So our gameplay experiences has been largely similar since we're inhabiting the same village, but also largely different since we're at different.
But you've been in the village longer.
Yep.
What perks do you have that he does not?
I had recipes for different tools, and those tools allowed me to get bells, the currency of the village, quicker. Yep.
So you have... Go right ahead.
I want to add something. We've been referring it to as a village, but in the game, it's specifically implied that you're on a deserted island.
Yeah,
and
it's an
build
island.
it from the ground up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you guys have... So what do you build in the village?
So basically, you're a resident in an area, and your main contractor or whatever, his name is Tom Nook, and he basically makes all your houses and gets all the contracting stuff up. So I just made my house yesterday. I had to pay a lot of money for that.
Yep.
So a lot of the building is mostly reserved to Tom Nook, but you can make decorations and specifically make tools to gather bells and break rocks so you can craft more stuff.
So you've been in the village longer, and you have more bells and more access to good things in the game. Is that correct?
Yes.
An older citizen with more access to the goods of the society. And here, a younger citizen who has not been in the village for that long and has less bells and is able to put more terrible furniture into your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you been impacted in even more deep ways than this?
I had a big problem at the beginning. I needed to get an axe, but I couldn't get the axe for a whole day, and I was really frustrated, and I had to look it up online.
That's also a really unique thing about this game. The in-game time is the same as real life time, and a lot of people do mess with that by messing with the clock on their Nintendo consoles. We have not yet, so when we say a day, we mean both a day in the game and a day here in this world.
So, idea number one, first of all, the game uses bells, not money, right? So, I think one thing that Andrew Yang could do immediately to distinguish himself and say, hey, I have a real plan for America, is to say that the West Coast will go completely to Bitcoin, right? And that in order to prepare our world for a virtual future, where, because it's very clear that we will all be living much more in virtual worlds now, I think that's already starting to happen, we need to, as a nation, master virtual currency. And that the entire West Coast, California, all the way up to what is the highest state in America?
Should be Maine. And it's on the East Coast. Yeah.
No. California, West Coast. West Coast up the... Washington State,
and
yes.
within these...
That's my point. All the states from California...
Would be higher than that.
No, my point is Bitcoin would be just West Coast. Every state that touches the Pacific Ocean, California, all the way up to Washington State would be Bitcoin. That would come from the Bell's idea, all right? Now, clearly, it's unfair that she has been given these advantages just for being an older citizen in the village. Does the village have a name?
Yes, I got to name it. I named it Eden.
Right. As a younger citizen, are you angered by her having more access to the resources of Eden than you, a younger citizen?
A bit.
How could Andrew Yang level that out, right? And actually, I guess it may be impossible. And the reason why is young people, as we've remembered, do not vote. and as you are older and engaged immediately with the game, you drug your feet and did not engage with the game until after your older sibling. So even though Andrew Yang could do something to help young people, he should not, because they will not come out and vote for him. We already know that lesson. All right. Now, we've talked about the Village of Eden. I want to look at it from the context of the Constitution of America. The American Constitution gives us freedom, and I want to explore how those freedoms appear within the Animal Crossing New Horizons. All right? The first freedom we are given is the freedom of communication, the freedom of the press, and the freedom of speech. Talk about speech in the game, if you would.
This is kind of a basic example, but you can talk with your villagers, and they can give you materials, and that you can just have a fun time with them, and they'll help you throughout the game just by talking to them. I don't really know.
So when I've seen your characters speak to animals in the game, when they talk, how does that sound?
It kind of sounds like a lot of beep boop bop bop beep 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 bops. It's not really any language. It's just a string of weird sounds.
Almost like Beto O'Rourke used to do. He would kind of just make a string of sounds in English and then do the same thing in Spanish. None of it was meaningful. None of it was really able to be understood or actually be able to convert into anything meaningful until the press came along and said, this is what that guy meant, right? And they would kind of interpret it. So when these animals jibber jabber, there's a meaning that is put underneath, correct?
Yeah.
Interesting. That absolutely could be another great idea for Andrew Yang, interpreting the jibber jabber of regular politicians. And so he would say, like, he could put into place a translation, an entire department that when so Andrew Yang unsuspends and says, I am unsuspending. And when I unsuspend, I will put in a translation department for politicians. Their words will come out similar to what happens in Animal Crossing. And then people can go and say, okay, I'm talking about this politician speaking at this time. Can you please give me the English words of what that actually means rather than the meaningless jibber-jabber that they were speaking, but that right now in our world has no conversion. Do you think that would be useful?
That's a really interesting idea. I will say it's not 100% unique. I'm referring to Key and Peele's Obama translator.
That's right. So that's my point. He could require each state by law to have a real language interpreter for whenever any politician that has been in for more than one term speaks, so that their words could actually be understood by real people. That'd be a fantastic idea. You could even make them objective, right? For instance, like, if the blue wins and you get a Democrat, the Republicans get his or her interpreter. And so the politician would talk to the media, and then the interpreter would have an equal amount of time to interpret that into real language, real meaning. Just like the English conversion under each animal, which speaks jibber-jabber, in Animal Crossing New Horizon. That's a brilliant idea. 3 top-notch ideas for Andrew Yang already. All right. So 1, that is a great exploration of the freedom of communication. Next is petition and assembly. I remember that we actually have the right to assembly. We as a people, an American people, are now choosing to forgo the liberty of our assembly. We should remember that we are voluntarily foregoing the liberty of our assembly. Are there any plagues that affect the Animal Crossing New Horizons world? Eden, the village.
No.
I think the closest thing is that there are insects on the island that can sting you and you will faint. So you can't get sick, but you can pass out. So that's the closest thing to illness in Animal Crossing that I've experienced.
So in Animal Crossing, is there any social distancing?
No. So,
how do you feel as someone who is socially distanced now from your friends and people external to this household? Does playing Animal Crossing make you sad that you remember you can't be with your friends? Or does it make you happy that you can have some type of a virtual community with these animals?
Somewhere in the middle. I haven't really thought of that when I'm playing the game. I really just caring about getting bells and upgrading my house. But
to catch up with the older citizens because you're so far behind.
But it is nice to have villagers to talk to, and their conversations are really cute sometimes.
This is very important. I do think, thinking about Animal Crossing New Horizons gives us that idea of Andrew Yang should, whenever he is in front of a camera, he should really be very careful to remind everybody that we are voluntarily forgoing our liberty to assemble. We are guaranteed a right to assemble by the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so while we're... Yeah, go ahead.
I'll also add, Animal Crossing actually does help with this. We don't play a ton of multiplayer games, but it does have the multiplayer capability that you can share codes with real-life people and visit their real-life villages, and so even in this time of social distancing, can, quote-unquote, visit your friends. Yeah.
All right, that is interesting. We also have the freedom of religion. How is religion dealt with in Animal Crossing New Horizon?
It is not touched on that much, kind of not at all.
Are there any churches?
No.
So there are no churches on this island?
No.
That is fascinating. Now, do you think that's because the one human did not build one, or the animals do not believe that their souls will have anywhere to go?
I don't think the developer of the game really wanted religion in the game, and they wanted it to be a free environment, I think.
Free of religion.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly... Our government is saying we all have freedom of religion, and we can practice whatever religion we want. That also does give us the religion to be atheists or agnostics, which are... You could consider religions But so, what are your thoughts on how Animal Crossing: New Horizons handles religion?
Yeah, I think the closest thing it gets to that is, well, there are no churches. There is a museum that you donate lots of specimen of fish and fossils to, and it's so. I want to phrase carefully because the science and the church are not in opposition to each other. However, I think people on both sides of that have been in opposition to each other. So there are, I even took a walk through the museum today, and there is one small exhibit showing like a meteor strike in the fossil exhibit. So
Ooh, wow.
yeah, I was
That's
surprised when I
interesting,
noticed that as
yeah.
well. So that not, I don't believe art. I think I was absolutely fine with it. But may go against some Christian beliefs. The fact that you're talking to animals, which I think you implied a lot.
Many Christians do not believe that animals have souls. That's
souls.
right. Yeah.
So you could definitely read some either religious or anti-religious things into it. But I also primarily agree with Logan. It is a very fun, very almost religion-free environment to play.
So I think what we can infer is that Animal Crossing would point to Andrew Yang to say, just keep politics, and allow religion to be practiced as it will, but then don't go too much into it, which is the way Animal Crossing New Horizons handles it.
Yeah,
all right, now that was,
absolutely.
we got a little bit heavy there, but we're about to get very heavy. All right, so we need to proceed carefully, because this next topic is very alarming to some people, so we need to treat it with respect. The Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. So I posed the question to both of you. Are there bears in this game? And their arms, are they covered with no sleeves, short sleeves, or long sleeves? Proceed carefully. This is a controversial subject.
Yes,
go right
absolutely.
ahead.
So, yes, there are bears. As I said, my neighbor is a koala bear. And yes, he does have arms.
Does he wear shirts that have no sleeves, short sleeves, or long sleeves?
I believe he primarily wears no sleeves. So you definitely see a lot of bear arms.
So there is a bear in here.
With
and he
bear
is
arms.
bearing his arms.
Yes.
In your village. Do you have bears in your village?
We have the same village for the third time, and yes, Canberra has short sleeves.
His name is even Canberra.
So wait. Is Canberra the only bear in the game?
No, there's actually just a full grizzly bear later in the game, but we haven't seen it yet.
Wow. Okay, now, if there's a grizzly bear in there, these bears, do the animals eat food? Is that ever explored?
No,
yes,
not
they
really.
eat fruit. There are many fruit trees among the island, and I think you can assume they're all, what's the word? Not omnivores, but they just eat the fruit on the island, not each other.
You can fish in the game, and you can sell it to Timmy and Tommy when you sell them. They're nephews to Tom Nook, which are like the main selling.
What species is Tom Nook?
He's a raccoon.
Ah, so okay, all right. So here's clearly, there's no animals eating meat in your site on your village. Is that correct?
I think so.
Right. There's none. Right. So here's the question. Everybody's worried about the Earth melting. Does Andrew Yang suggest that the entire country go vegan, exactly as has been mandated clearly in Animal Crossing New Horizon, or should we continue to eat meat, even knowing that it is making our Earth melt faster? Do you believe Andrew Yang should suggest that we keep our current structure, or adopt veganism as the island in Animal Crossing New Horizon has purported? What is your thoughts?
I do think we should keep the ability to eat meat but in the right order, like not like completely burning the world to a crisp, but with some regulation, so you can still eat meat and you can still eat like fish, cow, pig, lamb, all that.
So you're saying that we should be adopting more veganism?
A little bit.
I have failed as a father. All right. What do you think? Should we adopt veganism?
I don't want to talk now.
You know what? We're gonna call it there. Autumn is laughing, not taking veganism serious. What we have learned is that Andrew Yang should put the entire West Coast on Bitcoin. There is some evidence that him purporting to have more veganism in America may help, especially with the youth. Although they don't vote, so I'm not sure if that would be helpful. And we also do know that he should remain hands-off from religion. Any other points that I had forgotten that we had found for Andrew Yang to follow from Animal Crossing New Horizons?
Well, I would just say that I think he should pick it up himself. It's a great game. Jump into the his followers' islands and have fun with the rest of us. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I do think it is a great game. I do think there are a lot of other games that have a lot more political
Ramifications.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll talk about those as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for exploring Andrew Yang's path to victory through Animal Crossing New Horizon. I think the Bitcoin idea was the best. Please, Andrew Yang, unsuspend immediately, and definitely consider playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. Thank you for exploring the politics of Animal Crossing New Horizons and the path to victory it presents for Andrew Yang with us. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.